Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 3X Value Growth Podcast. My name is Carrie Sauls. I'm a value growth advisor and the author of the book, Multiply Your Business Value in 3 Steps. The 3X Value Growth Podcast is a forum to hear from advisors with the expertise and resources that owners need now to ensure that your lower middle market enterprise can reach its full potential. I want you to tune in to hear from experts like our guest today who generously share their expertise to help owners lead companies to crack the code on multiplying the value of their business. I always start each show with a piece of trivia about the state of New Hampshire where I live. And today I wanted to bring you back to a little bit of history. After Jamestown and marrying Pocahontas, Captain James Smith traveled up the east coast of the United States and coined the phrase New England. In fact, he wanted to take what he had defined as New England, that includes part of coastal Canada, and create New England. That was going to be his new colony. Well, along the way, he gave New Hampshire the name New Hampshire based on the town of Hampshire, England, his hometown. So that's the origin of the name for New Hampshire. I'm joined today by our guest, Jennifer Peak. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you. Where are you calling in from?
I am calling in from Kansas City. And on this particular day, we are having a Super Bowl parade.
Well deserved. Definitely well deserved. That was amazing. I'm glad they won it. That was an awesome win.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So are you celebrating with them?
Remotely. It is chilly here, and there are a lot of people down there.
Yeah, do it remotely. Stay warm, definitely.
Yes, exactly.
For those who don't know Jennifer Peak, let me give you a little bit of an introduction to her before we get started. Jennifer Peak provides clients with key strategic insights while helping them develop plans to profitably execute their vision. At Peak Advisory Group, she consults with business owners, identifying business gaps and opportunities to increase value and prepare them for the next stage of business evolution, from growth to varied exit strategies. You're talking my language. I'm so glad to have you here today, Jennifer.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here.
Absolutely. And the title for our 7-question interview is Managing Business Growth for Profit. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So we'll start with our first question. Who is your ideal client, Jennifer?
Our ideal clients are business owners with at least $1 million in revenue. We do work with aggressively growing companies that are not quite at that mark yet, but are on the path to that as well.
And therefore, with that audience, what problems are you trying to solve for them?
So our biggest focus for those clients is really to hone in on profitability, where it's coming from, where it's not coming from, how do they grow that in the most exponential way, while not having to incur a bunch of capital investments or a bunch of expenses along the way.
That makes a big difference, definitely. So my third question is, what are the typical symptoms of that problem that owners are experiencing or that they end up talking about?
So the one that we hear the most often is, we're growing like crazy, and yet I still feel like I'm worried about making payroll every week or every 2 weeks. And really what that's a symptom of is their revenue isn't either as profitable as they think it is, or they don't fully understand their cash conversion cycle. And payroll happens like clockwork, so that's where people feel it the fastest.
They see, and it's where it becomes front and center that they can't avoid it.
Yep, exactly.
Definitely. So building on that, my fourth question for you is, what are the most common mistakes that you see owners making when they try to tackle this by themselves?
The first thing that we see, and the most common reaction, is that business owners jump back into micromanaging details, right? Like they want to know, why are we spending so much money on office supplies? And, truly little details. because those are really discrete, right? It's a bill from Staples or it's somebody charged something on Amazon, and they can take immediate action on them. They're also the easiest to quantify. In a fast-growing company, business owners haven't necessarily put a lot of systems in place to be able to monitor their profitability, and that's a little bit more of a gray area for them. So they focus on the things that aren't going to get them a big return on their investment, and they're still going to have cash flow problems.
Oh, I recognize everything you're talking about. Those are things that you walk in, and in your first conversation, these are the things that you hear and that you can recognize readily. You don't even have to start digging.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly.
So therefore, my fifth question is, what's one valuable free action that you can recommend to our audience that they can try on their own?
So the first thing that I suggest to our business owners, and the question that I ask them is, okay, how do you know, if we take the noise out of it, how do you know that your business is being successful? And how do we build some easy metric calculations around that? For example, certain of our clients, payroll as a percentage of revenue is a really easy metric for them to get a hold of. They can pull revenue out of like a point of sale system. Their payroll come out of a payroll provider system. They don't have to do anything fancy to get to that. You can also do like trended information, where how your revenue cycle is going, and revenue like this week of this year compared to revenue of the same week from last year.
Year over year. Yeah.
Year over year. So it's really just trying to find some key things that they can immediately access.
So those are things that they can immediately look at on their own with the data that they already have established in their current systems.
Exactly. There's a tendency when you're in this sort of dynamic to get overwhelmed and then to feel like you need to put a whole bunch of really robust new systems and processes in place, and then that just kind of keeps people stuck.
It's just too much at once. Absolutely.
Too much at once.
Absolutely. So flipping it around, number 6 is, what's one valuable free resource that you can recommend to our audience that will help them even further with this problem?
So we have a quiz that looks at various areas of people's businesses. It won't take 5 minutes to do. You can find that at businessvaluequiz.com. And as an outcome of taking that quiz, everyone will receive a 19-page specific report based on their answers that'll tell them what they're doing well and what they should focus on next.
That sounds terrific. That's a great quiz to hand out. Thank you. So my last question for you, Jennifer, is, with everything we've discussed, what's one question I should have asked you and didn't? And what would be the answer, please?
So the one question that came to me was, what is the biggest growth trap business owners can fall into? And my answer to that is that growth can camouflage a variety of issues. So as an example, particularly because we're talking about profitability here, you can grow and mask the fact that you've got products or services that aren't that profitable. But because you're just continually adding revenue, it doesn't really show up the way that it would if you were just in a flat revenue state. And one of my clients uses the analogy kind of a boat, right? So if you're going really fast as a boat, the wake is behind you. But as soon as you slow down, that water catches up with you. And that's what can happen in growth. Eventually, you can't sustain exponential growth forever. And when that cycle starts to slow down, some of your bad habits and lack of systems and processes really start to show up.
They do. That's a really good way for people to start thinking about it. That growth in and of itself is not the only solution, and it's not the solution to every problem that you're facing. You have to look a little bit deeper at what's going on in that growth. Perfect. Thank you so much, Jennifer Peak, for joining me here on the 3X Value Growth podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Well, thank you for having me.
The mission we set for the 3X Value Growth Podcast is to make critical information available to owners of private businesses that will help them easily multiply the value of their business. The 3X Value Growth system we offer leverages our proprietary analytics, platform, and client portal to address quantitative, performance excellence, and risk factors to increase EBITDA. To learn how you can multiply the value of your business threefold in just 3 years, check out 3xvaluegrowth.com/model for a free PDF. You'll be invited to attend our next demo of the 3X Value Growth Program on a free monthly webinar of what works in the lower middle market. Thanks for checking out our 3X Value Growth Podcast. If you like what we're doing here, head on over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe. Leave us a review or rate us. It's very much appreciated.